Fine. Now, if you see, we'll start up with a basic introduction to different flavors of Java and specifically about Java EE or JEE, right? So when it comes to Java, Java has released 3 different flavors. You'll find 3 different flavors of Java in market. One is J2SE, which is now called as JSE, Java Standard Edition, which we use in order to usually write programs for core Java, or when you want to write Windows applications using strings, you want to write applets, or you want to do network programming, or you want to do, you say, distributed programming using RMI, Corba, right? So your JSC is sufficient in order to help you in writing all these different type of programs. But one issue was there when we talk about distributed application. That was fine. In JSC, they came up with something called as RMI and Corba, right? Now, RMI's limitation was only Java client. If I'm writing RMI server, and in that if I'm keeping a Java component, I'll be able to access only if I'm using Java client. This was first limitation. Second limitation was low level of services like concurrency, transaction management, security. All these need to be programmatically handled. So these are low level of services which need to be programmatically handled by developers, right? So that made life of developer actually difficult. Why? Because developer will focus on business logic, or he will focus on logic which is specific to the way code is being managed, right? So this was the limitation with RMI. In order to overcome second limitation, or you can say in order to overcome some of the limitations of RMI, Corba specification came, where they said now non-Java clients can also access, right? I mean, now it was language independent, but second problem was still there. Means low-level service needs to be managed by developers. This has to be done by developers. Right? So again, low level of service management done by developers still made the components complex, and people started, you say, avoiding using RMI and Corba. They started using it only when it was essential. This was the reason why actually Sun Microsystems came up with second specification, and that specification was actually called as J2EE, and now it is called as JEE, which stands for Java Enterprise Edition. Now this Java Enterprise Edition did what? It decoupled responsibility of program and responsibility of low-level service management, right? Where low-level service management will be done by containers. So you can say they came up with a model called as component container model, where role of component was to handle business logic. Means developer has to think about creating component where they will just focus on business logic. And objective or role of container was to manage those components, right? And these containers need not be written by developers, because n number of products came up saying that we are Java Enterprise Edition compliant, like WebLogic, JBoss, VAS. All these products said that we are providing your container who will take care of your components, right? So now developer need not bother about low-level service. They need not bother about life cycle management. They need not bother about deciding how many instances need to be created in order to cater current load. They need not bother about which client should be given preference, right? All these issues were out of box provided by container. So now developer's role was restricted. Like developer will just focus on business logic instead of focusing on low level of services. So container took responsibility of what? Basically, you can say life cycle management. When to create instance, how long that instance should be live, when to destroy that instance, all this was decided by container. Apart from this, concurrency, transaction management, security, multi-threading, all these issues were taken care by container without developers who are writing components intervention. Yes, if developer wants to ensure that they are able to place their request to container, that they want security management using X policy, or they want transaction management using, you say again, their own policy, they can place that request through a document, and that document is called as component container contract, right? Now this contract was actually to tell your container what is expected, what type of environment is expected by component to execute, right? You might have definitely heard about web.xml. Now this web.xml is nothing but it's a contract document that is written in order to request your container what all are the servlets, in what way servlet need to be loaded, right? What is the security constraint that is applied on web components, users having what authority should be able to access the servlets, right? So all these were written in contract documents of your web component, right? Similarly, when we go with other containers, you will get a way of specifying contract document, right? So this is what is objective of JEE. So if you ask me what is basic objective of JEE, it's very simple. It is simplifying development of component, right? Eliminating, or you can say delegating responsibility of life cycle management and low-level service control, low-level service management to the container. Right. So it means things were simplified in JEE and companies started adopting it, and within a matter of time you'll find they found that EJBs have taken over entire at least 60% of distributed computing space, right? So this is what is component container model, and this is what is objective of JEE or Java Enterprise Edition. Then came third edition. That third edition is JME, which stands for Java Micro Edition.
Excuse me, can you tell me that lower level service management, what is it? I don't understand.
Okay. See, take up a scenario. You have a component, you have written a class, and now more than 2 users are trying to use the same instance. This is concurrency problem, right? Because if they will have shared resource, locking need to be managed. So you have 2 ways. Either you do it programmatically, or you let your container do it.
Okay.
Right? So in case of JEE, this was responsibility of container. But when you go with RMI and Corba, this care need to be taken by developer, where code became complex, right?
Okay.
Fine. So to eliminate complexity from the business component or various type of components, Sun Microsystem wrote a specification, and n number of vendors came up with their products. Those products provided containers, where actually whatever component is developed by developer was placed in that container and it was made available for access to the clients. So now when client places request, it is container who decides that who should be given access to which instance. If more instances are required, it is not developer who will create instance, it is container who will create instance. If container feels that there are too many instances, now they are unnecessarily occupying memory, these many instances are not required, it is container who will decide to destroy those objects, right? So this is what is called as low-level service management.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Then came Java Micro Edition. Now, in case of Java Micro Edition, objective of this was device programming. You might have heard about mobile applications, right? You might have heard about J2ME, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever it comes to device programming for mobiles or for set-top boxes, you can go and use a different flavor of Java, and that flavor is Java ME. Our focus will be more on JEE, that is writing Java Enterprise Edition. Okay. Fine. So now with this clarity, we can go and define J2EE or Java EE. It is set of specifications, and implementation of these specifications are provided by various vendors, including Sun Microsystems, Oracle, IBM. Then you have Red Hat, which came up with JBoss or which maintains now JBoss, right? Java EE software development kit. Now, when I say that, okay, WebLogic contains what? It contains containers, and it provides a software development kit so that you can go and write components which are compliant to the container, right? Java EE components and applications, right? So this is what will be the objective of this session. I believe that after this session is over, you will understand. Now, what all you can create using Java EE edition? You can create web applications where you will be going through servlets JSP. You can create enterprise application technologies like EJBs, message-driven themes. You can use JMS. You can use web services. Then you have management and security technology, like securing your web component, securing your EJB, securing it from a particular user or a particular group. So all those are part of this specification. It means they wrote specifications for not only components but also services, which includes what? Security service, JAS, transaction management service, JTS, right? Web service client services by giving you JAX-WS, RESTful web services by giving you JAX-RS. So there are various specifications which were written as part of Java EE. Okay, don't worry. Once we move forward, you'll see. Then Sun Microsystem gave a server called as Glassfish. Apart from this, you have many other servers which are compliant to this. Glassfish is considered as better one because this is the first server on which any new specification is tested by Sun and now Oracle. Okay, but in actual production, you will find that JBoss is also being used, WAS is also being used, WebLogic is also being used. Right? When it comes to developer, do you feel that developer need to bother about the server environment? Not at all. Why? Because all of them follow same specification. So even if you write component keeping in mind JBoss, until and unless you are not using specific feature of JBoss, that component can be deployed on any app server, irrespective of whether it is JBoss or WebLogic or WAS, and behavior will be common. Why? Because all of them follow same specification, right? That's what is a benefit. Write it using one server and you can deploy it on any server. So portability is what you get when you use JEE specifications. Fine. Most important feature of Java EE application is component container architecture. This is what I have discussed with you, right? Container is provided by the vendor. Developer need not worry. Developer has to go and create components. But when you are writing component, you have to follow specifications.
What
right?
is that component? For example, what it contains?
Okay.
Component.
See, container is like a service which takes responsibility of managing your component. Component is logic that you write. For example, you create a web component in which you have servlets and JSPs, right?
Okay.
So it becomes a web component. Now, in order to handle that web component, in order to manage that web component, you need a container called as web container. So whenever request will be made, in order to access the web component, it is container who will take responsibility of providing or intercepting that request and deciding which component need to be executed.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, when I do installation of app server like JBoss or anything, it internally creates a number of containers. Now when I write my component, I have to go and put it in the container. Now putting in the container is what is called as deployment, right? There are different ways, or each app server provides you different way of placing the component in the container. Okay. So once we move forward, you will see how we are deploying it. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Container will be written by vendors and component will be written by developers. But when you are writing component by developers.
By developers. Okay.
Okay. Right. Fine. Now when you are writing component, you have to ensure that your container understands that component, right?
Yeah. Right.
Fine. So how actually you can ensure that? You can ensure that by writing components following specification, because container will go and check your component first, whether it is valid as per specification or not. If it is not valid, it will say I will not deploy it because it's not a valid component, right? Okay, so you will see once we will create.
How the container knows it is valid or not?
Okay, it's very simple. See, what container will do is it will go and look up for a file called as web.xml. Right?
Okay.
If web.xml is written in wrong way, or if some error is there in that file, container will immediately shout it's not a valid component. Or if it will not be able to locate web.xml, it will say that I'm not getting web.xml, it's not a valid file. Right?
Okay.
It's clear. So there is a process which container follows in order to ensure that your component is valid.
Correct.
It is written and it contains all artifacts in order to ensure that it can be treated as a component, a valid component. Okay? Right. Right. So if you see here, component's responsibility is to house application specific functionality. Right? What actually application is supposed to do. It uses services provided by container, and they are managed by whom? Container. So as a developer, my responsibility is to write component and put it in container. After that, whenever request will be made by client, it's responsibility of container to go and get the instance and execute it and provide the output back to the user. Okay, your responsibility as a developer ends there. Right? Now comes container services. Container provides services to the component. It controls life cycle and it creates execution environment. Okay. This is all is automated. As a developer, I need not worry about it. As a developer, I need to just ensure that I am creating component following specifications.
Okay.
Okay. So as a developer, I need to know specifications in order to create web component, specifications in order to create EJB component, specifications in order to apply security, specifications in order to apply transaction management, right? That is what is objective also, which we are going to see one by one. Okay?
Okay.
Right. Till here clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, how many different type of components are there? So typically you will find 4 different type of components that a developer can write. First one is Java app client component, right? So typically when you write programs which contains public static void main, they are client application, they are client component because they will get executed in the client's JVM. Okay?
Okay.
Clear, right? Second type of component is applet component. But you see, like applet also gets executed where? In client's JVM, right? You embed your applet in HTML file, right? And when I browse that HTML file, that applet gets downloaded on my machine and it executes using my local JVM, right?
Okay.
Right. It means JRE provider for application component and applet component is what? Client, right? But when it comes to EJB component and web components, who will be the JRE provider? It is server. Servlet will not get downloaded on client's machine. It will execute in the container and it will create HTML output which can be sent back to the client to be displayed on the browser.
Okay.
Same is the case with EJB component also. It will get executed on the server. It will not be downloaded on the client machine. Client will just place request. It gets executed on the server, right? Passes the output to web component, where web component flushes it out in form of HTML, right? So if someone is asking you, okay, tell me who is the JRE provider for EJB component and web component? It is very simple. Server, right? And who is the JRE provider for application client component and applet component? It is the client, right?
Right. Okay.
Now, client's JRE is not in my control because some people will have JDK 1.5, some people will have JDK 1.4. That is not in my control. Neither I can dictate client to have a particular JRE, right? So as an enterprise developer, I will not bother about that. I will bother about these 2 components. One is EJB component and second one is web component.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Good. Fine. Now you see component container architecture. You have container called EJB container. Component type is EJB and EJB container is part of Java EE application server. That's what I told you, that JRE provider for your EJB will be server JRE. Then you have web container. You have servlets and JSPs. These are used in order to create web components. EJB container is part of Java EE application server. Please just forgive this concept.
So
This will be web container. Okay.
Container both are same, right?
No, this is web container. They are not same. Difference is web container can understand only HTTP request.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Your voice is breaking.
If you want to access a web component, you need to place your request using HTTP protocol. Okay.
Yeah, right.
EJB components cannot be accessed using HTTP protocol.
Then
so both these containers are different. There are different protocols like RMI, Corba, RMI, IOP. I'll come to that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Then you have applet containers. You have application client containers. These two are hosted on client machine. In simple words, you can say that applet and application client container, JRE provider is client. Web container and EJB container will execute in server. Right?
Okay.
Fine. In order to access web
so
component,
those
I need
are
to use
EJB container and web container are thin layer, right?
Yeah, they are there on server. Don't from layer perspective, if you say web container is web layer and EJB container is EJB layer.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Web container contains components in order to provide access to HTTP client. If you have an application and if you want that application to be present on www and you have to create some dynamic content which is only possible after executing some code on the server, you have to go with what component? Web component, right?
Yeah, right.
EJB container comes into picture when you want to write your logic in distributed form. Okay. We'll see that once we move forward.
Okay.
As of now, my objective was to tell you that there are 4 containers and each container will have its own component. Out of these 4 containers, 2 containers, that is EJB container and web container, are there on the server JRE. Applet container and client container are there on client JRE. Okay. So in order to have EJB container and web container, I need to have what? An application server installed.
Okay.
Yeah, application server installed, right? If you see, this is what is typical diagram. You have web container, EJB container, applet container, application client container. Now browser places request to web container. Application client container can directly invoke EJB because protocol you will be using is RMI IOP. But you cannot directly access EJB container from browser. Are you able to see? There is no direct access from browser to EJB, right? Because EJB container will not understand HTTP protocol at all. Your request goes to web container. In web container, you are creating a request to your EJB component. That is possible.
Okay.
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 Fine. Now, after writing your component, you have to package that component, right? For deployment, you have to package that component.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there are different packaging units. For example, if you go with web component, your web components must be packaged in web archive, which is WAR. Okay.
Okay.
So when you say .war file, it has to be deployed in what container? Web container. Then you have enterprise Java beans, EJBs, right?
Okay.
You have what? ZARs, right? So EJBs will be packaged in form of ZAR. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one enterprise can have n number of web modules, n number of EJB modules, right? For example, an enterprise can have HR, it can have payroll, it can have project management. Right? Now, for each one of them, you can have one web component, right?
Okay.
Okay. Fine. So this EAR is nothing but it is collection of n number of WAR and ZARs. Okay. Is that clear? So what is an EAR? It's an enterprise application which can have more than one web component and more than one EJB component, right?
Okay.
Okay. So if someone is asking you, okay, tell me what is the package unit of web application?
It's WAR.
Okay. It's where?
That's it, right?
And for EJBs, it is
It's
it is what?
JAS.
Okay. It's
Okay.
JAS. Okay. And for enterprise, it is EAR. Enterprise
Yes, okay.
archive.
It can have more than
Okay.
one. Okay, web publication. Okay.
Okay. Fine. Right. So we'll just go and move forward. Right. Now, before I confuse you more, what I'll do is I will show you how actually it is created. Okay. Right.
Okay.
I'll have here save notes. Now I'm going to create an enterprise application. I'm in Eclipse, new. If you want, I'll set up the environment on your system as well, and I'll go to enterprise application project, right? Which is nothing but package in form of EAR, which can have more than one web module. It can have more than one EJB module. So I'm going and I'm selecting this here. I'll give a project name, test 1. Now we are going to use 6 version of, for EAR version 6, that is JEE 6, because that is what is new one. JEE 7 is also there. I will upgrade you from 6 to 7 also after we are done with 6. Test 1. Click on next. Now here, if you see, it is asking, right, generate application.xml deployment descriptor. Please select it, because it is this file which will tell how many web components and how many EJB components are part of your current EAR. Okay. Now, as of now, if you see, there are no modules, right? I'll go and click on new module. When I click on new module, I get all 4 containers, right? I'll just not take connector. I'll tell you what is connector later. I am taking only EJB module and web module. So I'll write here. Yes. I'll just write here just for sake of this. I'll go and click on finish. Okay. Now once I finish, it installs. Miss ID is creating the artifact. Okay. You need not worry. Let it create. We will have an EAR. I'll just go and click on finish now. Now it takes some time because this is first project that we are creating. Let's wait for 2 minutes, 1 minute. Fine. Now it is created. I'll close previous ones. Now here you see this is what is test 1 enterprise EAR content meta-inf application.xml, right? So if someone is asking you, okay, tell me as per specification what should be the directory structure of an EAR? Very simple. EAR will be a folder which will contain meta-inf. Inside meta-inf it will have what? Application.xml. So someone, yes, and if someone is asking you, okay, tell me how your container knows that what all modules are part of current EAR. From what file? Application.xml. Okay, I'll show you the source. See, it tells you that you have 2 modules. One is web module and second one is EJB module. Right? If I will go and add more if I'll add one more web module to it, that entry will come here. So if you have to see that what all are the modules of current enterprise, which is the file that you will look for? Annie, which one you will look for? Application.xml. Yes, this is the file which tells you what all modules are there in current enterprise. Okay. Fine. So this is what is the directory structure. Okay. So I feel now you understood what is web module, what is EJB module, and what is EAR. Right? Your enterprise application can have more than one module. Which all module is part of this enterprise application is written in application.xml. Okay. From JEE, yes, from JEE 6 onwards it is optional. But better is to keep application.xml because it provides you details that what all modules are there. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Fine. So this is what is about your packaging. Okay.
Okay.
RAR
Yeah.
I will cover later. Fine. Now if you see, this is what is the actual architecture. You have applet here. These two are not our concern. Web browser, making request to web component. It may directly communicate with database or it may communicate through EJB container.
EJB
Also, right?
Okay.
Yes. Fine. Right. Clear, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now if you see, let's talk about what all services are provided to us by container. Now services of container can be divided into two different parts. One is deployment based services, which a professional who is aware about packaging, who is aware about creating WAR, EAR and EJB tasks, he will be configuring it. And that includes what? Security, transaction, persistence, injection. Okay, don't worry about these jargons. All this will be explained to you properly once we move further. And what is provided to you out of box, whether you ask for it, you don't ask for it, it is lifecycle management, threading, and remote object communication, RMI and CORBA. You need not ask. All these are supplied to you by container out of box. Okay? Right?
Okay.
Fine. So this is what is the type of services. Just remember deployment based service and inherent service. It's clear, right?
Yeah. What is RMI intelligence?
See, remote method invocation. It is actually when we
Remote
write
method?
network programming, invocation.
Invocation. Okay.
Okay. See, when we write network programs, right, network client to a network server, I need to know about what? IP address, right?
Yeah.
So tomorrow, if you are changing location of that component, all clients must be told about IP address because you have changed the location, right, of the component.
Yeah.
Clients
Okay.
must be updated with the IP, right?
Okay.
So that is network model. Now, in order to ensure that clients are decoupled from the component, you will keep another layer in middle, and that layer will be called as registry. So what will be done now? Whatever component is there, that will be information about that location and all will be kept in registry. Your client will just use a name in order to get access to that server component, right? He will not bother about what is the IP address. Now tomorrow if there is a change, you have to go and update what? Registry, right? One system. Because clients are not using your IP address to communicate. They are using what? Name to communicate, right?
Okay.
Fine. So whenever there is change in the IP of the component, you have to just go and make update in the registry, right? Without telling to the clients. This model is called as distributed model, right? In Java, you have different ways, different specifications written to come up with distributed computing. One of them is RMI. Okay, I told you if you are writing RMI component, in order to access RMI component, you must use Java client. What if you want to access RMI component, or you say a component using .NET client? You cannot do it if you are using RMI. So you will move to what? CORBA. Okay? Because CORBA now is language independent. But still problem is there in CORBA because all low level of services need to be managed by you. For example, whatever services you are seeing here, persistence management, transaction management, security, life cycle, threading, all this need to be done by you programmatically. Life of developer becomes difficult. So in order to eliminate this, in order to make development more simple, they came up with EJB, where they said all these low level of services will be responsibility of container. My developer will just go and do what? Focus on business logic. After business logic is ready, he will go and put that particular component in the container. Container will take responsibility of managing the rest of it. Okay? Is that clear now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, fine. Now there are certain features which you will not find in you say specifications. Like one server is not sufficient in order to handle the current load. What if server is down, right? So failover, scalability, all these are vendor specific, right?
Okay.
Load balancing, failover, scalability, all these are vendor specific. Component developer need not worry about it at all. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because components are architectural neutral. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now, Java EE containers, they will be able to access what all services. Okay, don't worry about all this. We will be covering slowly once we move forward. But web container supports or understands JAXR, RMI, Corba, connector, JMS, Java Mail, JDBC. EJB container also understands all this. But if you see applet container, number of services are not there, right?
Nothing. Okay.
Client can understand JDBC, JNDA, JML. Okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So which API can be used in what container, or which API is known to your container? That is what you are able to see here. Apart from this, you have many other which is not shown in this particular diagram, right?
Okay.
Okay, right? I
Yeah.
will not overload you today. I will not overload you today. But just in order to ensure that you have environment set in your system so that you can follow the development, you have the same version of Eclipse, right, in your system also?
Yeah, it's yes, Niranjan, I have it.
Okay, because and plugins are there. There are certain plugins which you will need. For example, can I see your desktop so that I can see your Eclipse and I can guide you setting up the environment today?
Yeah, sure. How can I?
I will make you the presenter. You have to share your desktop with me. Now you are the presenter. You can share the desktop. Just go, select share my desktop. Yes, I'm able to see. It may take some time. Okay, again you have to share my desktop. Just share your desktop so that I can see and we can follow.
No, it shows me a message. You are already sharing an application web browser, your desktop, another computer are running. You can perform only one
Okay.
of these activities at a time.
Yeah, you can share only one. And just now you shared, right?
Yeah, but it shows
go
me
to
in a message.
What? That it's already being shared by some.
Yeah, it's
No,
you
again.
can perform only one of these activities at a time. It shows me that.
What
I think
activities?
you're already sharing an application, web browser, your desktop, another computer, or running the WebEx recorder. You can perform only one of these activities at a time.
But you are the presenter, so you can share it. I think you are sharing your application with someone else as well. Are you sharing your desktop with someone?
No, nothing. No.
Okay, because usually we do in that way only. Okay, I'll take here control and I'll tell you do the same operations on your system.
Okay.
The first task is you need to have this server called JBoss61, right? Fine. So what you need to do is you have various ways of doing it. You just go to help. You have Eclipse Marketplace. You are able to see, right, my desktop?
No, I don't see it.
One second.
I can see your page.
Now you are able to see? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll close it again. I'll go to help and I'll select here Eclipse Marketplace. From here, since it is already there on my system, you'll find it is installed. On your system, you have to do it. So just do this set of operations so that in next session, tomorrow we can start up with programming. Right. So you see here, I'll just go and write here JBoss tools. Are you able to see JBoss tools? Mine is Kepler.
Yeah.
I have installed Juno in this. You can install this Kepler, this one.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just go and click on, one second. This error, you don't worry. Click on install. Once I click on install, it will fetch me all. Be careful because I'm going to tell you what all you have to select from here. It gives you all selected. If you update with all, problem will be there. See, these are the things that you have to select from here. You just select important ones, Hibernate tools, right?
Okay.
Then you have to select JBoss AS tools.
JBoss is okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want portlets and all, then you have to go to OpenShift. We don't want that. Maven, we don't need as of now. Select this context and dependency injection tools. Okay.
Okay.
As of now, these are enough. You have to just go and click on install now.
Okay.
Okay. For example, I'll go and confirm it. It will calculate it. It takes some time to install.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you see your original request has been modified, it is already installed. In my case, it is already installed. So an update will be performed instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want. You have to go and install it.
Okay.
Right. Once you will install, to verify that your installation is done successfully, which will take time, so I will not wait or ask you to wait. You just install and confirm those things. I'll just go to this place, right click, new, others, and here you will get Hibernate. If you are getting Hibernate here, it means that it is installed successfully. You will get JBoss AS tools. If you are getting this, it means it is installed successfully. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. So
What
as
about
of
the
now, for
context
today,
and dependency injection tools?
that will be, these two are confirmations. So once you have done this, no, automatically you can assume that yes, everything is installed, because that context and dependency injection will be part of it. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. So just ensure that you are done till here today, and tomorrow we'll have to start with programming. Initially, I have to support you because I will be writing program here, and then I'll ask you to immediately write program, and I will ask you to share your desktop so that I can guide that we are going in right way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So for today it's enough. It's starting.